Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Today, we're going to be covering how you can automate requests with ServiceTeam ITSM. My name is Derek Renton. I'll be moderating today's session. Presenting a demonstration of Provence ITSM will be Brian Field. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. I've muted all attendees, so if you do have questions, please submit them through the questions panel on the GoToWebinar screen, and I'll address them towards the end of the session. And secondly, this webinar is being recorded, so if there's others from your organization that have planned to attend and weren't able to, reach out to us. We'll provide you with a link and they can view it on demand. And with that, let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about ServiceTeam from Provence. It's our next generation product family. Provence as a company has the most Microsoft-centric ITSM solutions available. For those of you that know us, we've been around for 25 years, and for the last 7 years, we've been providing ITSM and ITAM solutions built in Dynamics 365 customer service. ServiceTeam, which we'll look at today, is built completely within Power Apps. It brings a fresh, agent-focused, multi-tenant, high-performance option to the market. We see it as having a lot of appeal for Microsoft customers and partners and MSPs that are investing in Power Apps within their organizations. And we've designed it to offer flexibility and options from a starter help desk through enterprise ITSM with several product additions that give you different capabilities based on your requirements. It works within a Power Apps and Dynamics environment. So if you're already running Dynamics for other workloads, you can use it based on that environment. Or if you're net new or using Power Apps, we can run in Power Apps as well. So when we set out looking to introduce a new ServiceTeam product to the market, we looked at many different platforms, and the one that resonated mostly with us was the Power App platform. Microsoft is investing a lot of money in Power Apps and a lot of resources in the Power Platform. So the opportunity to build a line of business applications in a modern, low-code manner opens up all kinds of opportunities in a really efficient and low-cost way. So for Provence, the platform makes it possible for us to design and build enterprise-level ITSM and ITAM applications. And for our customers, it means the benefits of the platform are exposed within our products. Things like low-code, easy configuration, the data connectors to things like Azure Intune, DevOps, Azure Monitor, many of the different tools you're using to complement ITSM. And the big one is Power Automate, because without coding, ServiceTeam ITSM lets you easily create business process flows and workflows to execute activities, tasks, and data manipulations that would otherwise require human effort. Power Automate from Microsoft is a native tool that lets you automate workflows, synchronize files, collect data, and get notifications between various Microsoft and non-Microsoft services. So anyone from a basic business user to an IT professional can create automated processes using the no-code, low-code platform. For compliance requirements, Provence has developed automation streams for workflows that involve many activities using a combination of manual tasks and automation calls. So to increase efficiency and reduce error, you can automate frequent and repetitive parts of your processes. And again, without coding, you can easily create business process flows and workflows to programmatically execute activities, tasks, and data manipulations that would otherwise require your human effort. What are the benefits? Well, leveraging automation streams for ITSM lets Provence customers improve efficiency and reduce operating costs through improved service delivery. It allows you to identify how touchless service requests can reduce involvement with repetitive tasks. Again, reducing the opportunity for human error. It acts as a gatekeeper for all processes. Everything gets tracked within Provence, so there's standardized reporting that can go against it. And it can be extended to non-business areas, non-IT business areas, such as human resources, legal, accounting, finance. So when you move into enterprise service management, you can apply the principles of ITSM to other areas, enabling self-service through the portal, agent handling with built-in approvals, and more. Biggest thing is there's no need for specialized skill set to participate in and approve automation streams or automations through Power Automate. Again, without coding, you can easily create business flows and workflows. So with that introduction behind us, we'll turn it over to Brian. And we're going to go through a webcast now, and he's going to talk about how we can build out ServiceTeam ITSM request catalogs, which automation strategy is best to meet your specific goals, how a standard employee onboarding automation used as an example for the automation streams capability, and finally, how we're going to build standard approvals automation using Power Automate. So with that, Brian, I will turn it over to you, and we'll take a look at how we can accomplish all of this stuff.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Derek. So
and I'm just confirming I can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, what I'm going to show here first as part of the demonstration is an example of how you can create service requests, what's called a request offering within the application, which has multiple elements to it, inclusive of the ability to initiate an approval, and then to call and execute a cloud flow to perform a relatively routine task. So we're going to take advantage. This is touchless, except for the approval process and the submission process, of course. But take you through an example and then show you, how that's configured. And I'll even show you, take you into a glimpse of the Power Automate flow that runs it. Then we'll take a look at and talk to the concept of automation streams, which takes the first example and gives you some additional flexibility in defining a lot more sophisticated and complicated processes with respect to, as Derek mentioned, onboarding or other enterprise service management process. So we'll take a look at the structure of that as well. So let's go ahead and for those of you who are familiar with ServiceTeam, maybe have seen it before, you'll be familiar with the self-service portal. On that self-service portal, you can expose requests, service catalog items. Some people will refer this to. Again, we refer these to these as request offerings. So in my example, I'm going to take you through somebody wants to be added to a security group as part of their new responsibilities, perhaps in a new role. And then just to show you, we're going to begin here by just simply showing an empty group, no members currently in this organization, because I do want to show that this will work for you, and to really prove that concept of that automation, taking advantage of multiple components of the platform, inclusive of ServiceTeam. So we'll go ahead and begin this request. And on any request, you now have the ability to pose a series of questions. Now this one's very straightforward. Tell me which security group you want. If we were looking at an onboarding example, this might be, okay, give me the person's first name, last name, start date, type of employee they are, full-time, part-time, contractor, whatever those questions might be. And it can be very extensive, and you can have conditional questions, etc., right? To really just gather the information that you need in order to fulfill that particular request. Not necessarily just limited to very traditional IT or ITSM oriented request. So very simple. My example, you can select from one security group to be added. Obviously, you would have additional options here that you would add, and the process would adjust accordingly. So gather my information, simply submit that ticket. Easy as that, right? It's very straightforward from an end user perspective. So now I have in process a ticket. Now, let me show you how we set this up. So as I mentioned, those items that are exposed on the portal are called request offerings. They're grouped into request areas, so logical groupings of the requests you want to expose. Question sets would be exactly what it's the label indicates. It's a series of questions, again, designed to capture the information that you need to fulfill the request. We don't want to burden the end user with, well, tell me the necessarily anyway, the urgency, the impact, the categories, yeah, anything like that. You just want, tell me what group I want to be added to, and we'll take it from there. Now, key elements of this process is the ticket template itself. This is where a lot of the power comes in with respect to configuring how you want and what you want this particular process or this particular service request to how you want it to function. So things like setting the values on the ticket that's created, setting the owner of the ticket if that's appropriate. So a lot of people call that a resolver group or a queue, but we use the term teams here. So assign it to the appropriate team. Then have different automation options. Now, in my very straightforward example here, I'm just taking advantage of an approval process, right? And this is Microsoft approvals. And if you've just noticed, I have an approval that is now pending and waiting for me to respond. Right now, there are other things you can do. Automation. This is where the automation streams concept comes in, and again, I'm going to show you the structure of what that looks like in just a short while. Or you might just have manual tasks, right? So different things that you need to do on a routine basis in support of the fulfillment of this particular request. So there's a lot of power in this area, and it's all configurable. There's nothing you really need to do here other than indicate what processes you want to take advantage of and use. So before we move any further and I go to the approvals, let me show you the ticket that's created. Go to the tickets list and active tickets, and we have full dashboards and views and other ways to be able to access and manage the tickets. All of that's part of the base product. But now I have my ticket, right? And it's fully populated based upon the ticket template. I can see the approval status is pending. You know, here's some of the information that we captured right here in the description. So this thing's ready to go, right? Ready for the next step within the fulfillment process. So using the approval engine that we have, let's go ahead and in Teams, or this might also be sent as an email to an individual or to a group of people. Now mine's very straightforward example, one person representing maybe that person's manager, which we can take advantage of out of your Azure Active Directory integrations that we have, once again, out of the box, to be able to populate the manager and know who to send the approvals to. Once I make my decision, go ahead and approve that. And the next thing that's going to happen is it's actually going to add this user to the group. So let me show you how that works. Very simple Power Automate flow, pretty straightforward, where we're going to identify whether if this was approved or not, right? And if I were to just scroll over just a little bit, if it's not approved, then we terminate. Now you might choose to do something a little more sophisticated, send an email, or you take another action, or maybe you allow them to resubmit. So depending on what you want to do, it'll follow a different path. All low code, no code, right? So was this approved? Okay, now get me the related ticket. Understand who the contact is. Get me the answer that they provided. That's what all of this is about here, you know, in a handful of steps. And then finally, using an out-of-the-box function provided by Microsoft and the platform, now I can go find that user who submitted the request, go get them, and then simply add them to the group, right? So know what the group is based upon the group ID, understand who the user is, pass it their ID, very straightforward process by which I'm just gathering information and being able to execute this flow. Now, you can do things like this with automation streams as well. As you're going through, and call different flows. You can call PowerShell scripts using our Provence Services platform. Lots of different ways to be able to show and to perform those, let's call them external activities, to ServiceTeam proper, where you're now going into other areas of the environment, whether it's in Azure Active Directory, like in this case, or maybe where you're pushing software and we add somebody to a security group that way so they can, we can install software. All of those things can be quite easily handled here through a Power Automate flow or a PowerShell script as we're going forward. So if I've refreshed my page here, I should now have a brand new user assigned to that particular group. That's part of my process, right? So end to end, be able to show using multiple, not only Provence ServiceTeam, but then other platform capabilities like Microsoft approvals, which we take advantage of, like a Power Automate flow to perform a very specific function, to be able to take that request really outside of the approval necessary. Your agents and your administrators do not have to do anything in order to fulfill that particular request. So quite powerful type of capability. So I promised to show you a little bit here in the next couple of minutes about the automation streams. And what I'm going to show you here is just how you can set these up as part of, again, a much more sophisticated item. So very popular among our customers is the ability to onboard a new employee or a new user. Now we're going to start again here from the ticket template concept and the request offering concept. Everything's the same. But then when we look at the options on automation tab, there's going to be something a little bit different here. Now, you certainly can have an approval process, and you very well would have one in this, when you're trying to hire a new person. So that can be, multi-level approvals. I went through a sample there where we're just a single user in the previous part of the demonstration, but this can be multiple teams if you want, and those teams can be invoked, if you will, in a parallel fashion, in a serialized fashion. And then you have to decide what you want to do in the event where something is rejected. Now what's my process? And that can vary from customer to customer. And that's where we take our out-of-the-box tools and configure them to meet very specific processes for the customers. But the difference here now is this automation activity template. So if we look at that, and now we look at the actual automation activities. Now we have the ability to perform, as indicated here, maybe there's a multi-step process. Now, we work with a customer who has, I think the number was somewhere around 50 different steps, from 52, I think was the exact number if memory serves. So this can be extremely complicated, and it can help you traverse that process that you may have of onboarding a new person, from in the security team involvement, from facilities team involvement, to IT's involvement, to HR's involvement. So it can span a variety of teams, a variety of functions, and then be fulfilled using things like the automated tasks, much like I showed you here. What you can do here as part of this automation activity is establish preconditions. Now this one doesn't have one, but a precondition could be, hey, only execute this step when the previous step is completed, or when certain data has been added, something like that. So that's going to now become the trigger when this happens. Or a post action where when this this particular activity is completed, now this happens to be an automation activity, now I want to set some data, the fixed due date field on the ticket. So here is now where different things can be triggered and orchestrated, if you will, automatically. You don't have to build a flow or anything like that to perform these sorts of steps. Now you could have, like is referenced here in this particular example, maybe now at this point on my second step is now I want to create that user. All right, so now you have a flow, or now you have a PowerShell script that you want to execute to automate something. Or you might have, okay, well, great, we've gone through those two steps. Now I want to go look at, for example, how do I fulfill the person's need for a PC, right? So now maybe you set something to be assigned to your asset management team, and they do a manual review of available inventory, determine if there's a machine available that can be deployed, and then indicate their next steps. Okay, I have one in storage, can image it and deliver it. Or perhaps then the next step would be, I don't have anything, so now I need to initiate a purchase as part of my overall process. And again, all of that can be, depending upon answers you're providing and results of the task or results of the automation, can take you down different paths, much like we did for that customer that had 52 different possible steps, and some were executed based upon the results from previous steps. So quite a powerful capability, all configurable. Where you're going to get into some potential code would be those PowerShell scripts that you might want to do, or the low code, no code activity for executing a Power Automate flow. But the automation streams gives you the infrastructure in order to be able to set up and then manage that process from step 1 through step X, and ensure that things are done in a consistent and repeatable manner. So Derek, with that, I will turn it over to you for the remainder of the session.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Brian. Let me just share out my screen here one final time. And all right, so thanks, Brian. That was a great overview. And we do have a couple of questions that have come in here, so I'm going to address them now. Again, if you do have questions, please submit them to the questions panel. First question is, which areas of ITSM can benefit most from automation? Well, we've shown a couple of examples today that highlight incoming requests, faster process, streamlining employee onboarding, that sort of thing. But other areas that you might want to consider would be enterprise service management. So as I mentioned off the top, as you extend ITSM principles and processes out to the rest of the business, there's a huge amount of efficiency and benefit in having automation built into it. It could be different cloud processes, it could be reporting, a number of different things. The key is that it's important to identify what your company can gain from the staff that are freed up to work on more complex projects, and where you can improve customer experience and satisfaction. We can certainly help you in identifying those areas, and as Brian has mentioned, we have the flexibility in the platform to provide those automation capabilities. So happy to talk about that some more if you want to reach out to us at info@provence.com. Another question that's come in is all of this capability included in your base product? The answer to that is yes. There's no additional Provence licensing required to do this automation. Obviously, you need to have Power Automate licensing from Microsoft to do the Power Automate piece. But again, as Brian mentioned, the framework is there within the product. You don't need any additional licensing from Provence in order to execute that. It's just getting things configured and identifying where those efficiencies are. So I think those are the two questions that have come in. So if you do have questions as we wrap up here, reach out to us at info@provence.com and stay connected with us at www.provence.com. We'll have this webinar recorded and put up on the site, as well as some past webinars. And follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook for product announcements, any upcoming webinars such as what we saw today, and keep in touch. Reach out anytime. We'd be happy to talk. So thanks, Brian, for a great overview, and thanks everybody for attending today, and we hope to engage shortly. Have a great day. Thank you.